So in this study, we were examining attitudes toward Black Lives Matter, and one of the things that I want to know right off the bat is, do people generally hold more positive views of Black Lives Matter or more negative views of Black Lives Matter? And so one of my variables in my data file, we actually examined positive attitudes toward Black Lives Matter. And so I could run a one sample t-test where I compare, and I can actually look at this. So this was on a 1 strongly disagree to 9 strongly agree scale was how this was measured. So higher scores on that 1 to 9 scale indicate more positive attitudes toward Black Lives Matter. Lower scores indicate more negative attitudes toward Black Lives Matter. Well, one of the things that we can actually do here, it's really interesting, we can actually compare the average on this scale to the midpoint of the scale. So the midpoint on a 1 to 9 scale is 5. And so we can actually say, okay, do people have more favorable attitudes? So are they higher than the midpoint? Do they have more negative attitudes? So are they lower than the midpoint? Or do they not differ significantly from the midpoint? So we're going to go to Analyze, and we're going to click Compare Means, and we can do a one sample t-test here. So then I'm going to scroll down to where we have that positive Black Lives Matter attitudes. And for my test value, so again, this was a 1 to 9 scale, and I want to know, do people generally hold more favorable or more negative attitudes toward Black Lives Matter? So I'm going to compare their scores to the midpoint. So the midpoint here is 5. If we hit options, we don't need to worry too much about that, so we go ahead and hit OK. So the first box that it's showing us here is it's telling us that the average positive Black Lives Matter attitudes is 6 on a 1 to 9 scale. So it is above the midpoint. Now, whether that's significantly above the midpoint, we need to figure that out still. So we're going to come down here to the T statistic, and as I've said in other videos, you generally start to see significance around T's around 2 to 2.5, and so we're seeing that the T value here is 5.69, so that's probably going to be significant, and lo and behold, the p-value is less than 0.001. Now you might be saying, wait a second, Connor, the p-value is 0.000. Well, a p-value is never going to be exactly 0. And in order for it to be exactly 0, we would have had to prove the thing, and we can't prove anything. There's always some room for error, and so at some point down this line of decimals, there's eventually going to be a number. And so we never write p is equal to 0.000, we say p is less than 0.001. Because this is less than 0.05 though, we know that it's significant. So our conclusion here is that people generally hold more favorable attitudes toward Black Lives Matter movement than the midpoint of the scale, and that value is significant. Well, that's all I have for today. Again, please reach out if you have any questions. Please hit that like and subscribe if these videos are helpful to you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.